Hello, Sammy. How are you? How you
Hello. I'm marvelous, thank you.
You're there on your boat. How
I
exciting!
know, I know. Very exciting.
Oh,
Oh,
lovely. It looks like the sun's shining down there as well. It's really
it
grim here
is.
today.
It is. We've got beautiful weather.
Oh,
Keeping fingers
fantastic.
crossed it stays.
Yeah, I looked at the weather app this morning. It just said rain, 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 rain for every day this week. I thought, no, the garden. Oh, the
I
garden
did
needs
too.
it, but I want to get in it. So you're sort of fighting with yourself, really. But thank you so much for coming and joining us today. You are the hardest
Welcome.
woman in the world to get hold of. I mean, to get hold of, to get an interview with, to just speak to. It's like, I think I'd actually be
Oh.
easier to get the Queen on board actually, to be fair,
Well,
than
they do
actually
call me
trying
the
to get
queen of
hold of.
branding.
Well, you are the queen of brandy, but I mean, Jesus, it's honestly, yeah, you are a phenomenal, phenomenal lady. But just to get hold of you is very hard. But I'm so glad I've got you. So I'm not going to waste any seconds. We've got people piling in to come watch you now, and we are desperate to know all about you. I've known Sammy for I don't know, probably I don't know, it feels like 10 years or more. I don't know. It
It
just
has to
seems
be
like
about that, I would
yeah,
say. Yeah.
about 10 years. And one thing that really stood out for me is that when I first met Sammy, I thought, who is this crazy woman that's just covered in color? It was just like color everywhere. And at the time, I was just black and gray. And it was like color. And I think,
Look at you
oh,
now. I can see you're wearing colour.
yeah. And I was like, I want
You're
to be
coming
like
out.
her. I want to wear color. And the first time I met you was at a speaker conference and you were just on stage, you were this presence and there was this color everywhere. And I thought, I want to be like Sammy. And that was my,
Oh,
legitimately, that was my
really?
first memory of you. I'm like, wow. Anyone who knows me knows I'm terrible at dressing myself. So I just thought, I just want to be like Sammy. So to be here 10 years later and interviewing him in our agent Rainmaker group is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you very much for being here.
Oh, it
But
is a pleasure.
thank you. Where are you? It looks like you're on a boat or something. Do you live on
I am.
a boat or?
Yeah, we do. We do. I've done that whole, building big businesses, like everything I just have like a superpower when it comes to building community. It's just a natural thing that tends to happen around me. And so this is my 10th company. I've built 10 businesses now. I've got 4 that I'm building now that are global businesses. So I needed to be able to travel, and especially in this time, wanted to be able to travel, but without leaving home. I got fed up with traveling the world. It was one of those things where, there was a time about 6.5 years ago when I'd built my agency up to 7.8 million. And we were just going through the process of selling it. And I remember walking out, we had this little playing field next to our house where I used to go throw the frisbee for my dog, Bonnie. This was just in Windsor. I'm not there now, but where I was in Old Windsor in the UK. And there, because we were right next to Heathrow Airport, and I used to see all the planes going over, I became a bit of a plane spotter. I was like, oh, that's got a blue belly. That's British Airways. I knew. I used to get so excited, and I used to watch those planes going over, thinking, oh, where are they going? I wish that was me on that plane. I used to dream of being on the plane and where would I be going? And I just wanted to travel. But at that time, I had a business that I couldn't leave. I was being swallowed by the business. I was working every hour God sent me, 18 to 20 hours a day. Yeah, I had the I made it moment when I got the beautiful big house. I had the I made it moment when I got the gorgeous car. I had the I made it moment when I was bringing in oodles and oodles of money, but I had no time to spend it. Massive, horrendous pains in my chest that became debilitating. That's the word. I can never say that word right, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just, I remember looking at those planes thinking, God, I just want to be out of this business. I just want to be out of this business. I want to be able to have a day where I'm not glued to my phone. I want a day where I'm just on that plane and I'm going somewhere. And I got that. But I literally I got to a point which hopefully you and those of you watching don't ever reach this point of pain, because I ended up walking away from that business. It just became too hard. I gave the business
And
to
what was
my
that business? What was
operations
it doing?
director. That was a big marketing, branding, PR, and
Marketing
web
branding.
agency that we'd built over
You were
seven
doing
years.
that when I met you, I think. I think you were
That's
just about
exactly
to
what we were
walk
doing.
out or you just walked out because I
Yeah,
can remember this like it was
yeah,
happening. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Scary.
And I
Yeah,
got
that's
to the point
so
where
scary.
done. I was done. I was so cooked. And, I built this amazing business, but the business, it's almost like I'd built the business for someone else. I hadn't built it for me. And
Mm.
I'd learned all of my skills. I'd learned all of my disasters. I had all of my fears, all my failures, all my F ups. I had them all in that business, which was brilliant. I learned a load along the way. But what I realized was I'd built a business that it wasn't my business. I built that for somebody else, and actually it's beautiful because it's still running now. And I sold that business for £1 and bought my freedom. I gave 50% of it to my ex-business partner, so I walked away with 50 pence. But you know what, that was the best freedom I ever bought myself. And so many people said, but why did you keep shares? That's not where I was at. I wanted to be free. I wanted my soul to be completely free, to be able to do the thing that was in my heart, and that was to serve in a much, much bigger way. And you'd met me at the point where I was learning how I could serve in a bigger way, but I was still so attached to the business. But I knew that building my personal brand would be the thing. Instead of building the business brand, I knew that building my personal brand was the thing that would be the difference. I needed to come out of myself. I needed to stop hiding behind the business, and I needed to get out there and actually be me. And so when you saw me in all that color, it was only maybe a year before that I was wearing all black too.
Really?
So there's a process that we
You never
all
told me that.
I know, that was my
You
secret.
didn't tell me that.
But you know, I think there's a process that we go through when we actually start to find ourselves and we become comfortable with ourselves, and we realize that actually we are bloody brilliant at what we do. Just like all these amazing agents that you're telling me about are brilliant at what they do. And that, you know, what I see as I've traveled around the world is that certainly in America, that they have to build their personal brands. Over there's this need. I don't know if you've been, I think you have definitely been to America, but those of you that are watching, if you've ever been to America, they don't tend to be like the agents that we have here in the UK. They tend to be very spread out, or they work from home. They tend to, they have this way of working that is much different to the way here. They're like, you go onto a high street and there's maybe 5 or 6 agents all on top of one another in the same place. And so, you know, it's about really learning that lesson about branding yourself. And I had to really get comfortable with that. And for the first time ever, that's when I thought, well, if I could be anything and do anything and have anything, what is the life that I would want? And how could I build a business around that instead of building a business because that's what I know, and then trying to trying to fit my life around it? And so it was a totally different way of working. Hence, we sold everything and we bought a boat. And I just said, you know, once I'd got that dream and I was flying all around the world for 3 years, I've built, as I say, I've got 3 global businesses now, and they're all building at the same time. And so I've just not been at home. Last year, I think I was home for about 5 weeks. The whole of the year, I was either speaking, running my own events, or building the Brand Builders Club out in all different countries around the world. And so I was hardly ever at home. And I said to Greg the end of last year, kind of done now. That dream where I saw all those plane bellies, when I was like, I want to be on a plane, I said, if you show me another plane, it will be too soon. I don't want to get on another plane. So we decided to buy a boat so we could have the travel. I could be at home and run global businesses from here.
Now I'm intrigued by this. So so we're all in a period of change right now. I mean, there's just like, we're all learning to work from home. Yeah. We've got our tenancy managers all spread all over the place. I mean, how the hell do you run 3 massive global businesses from a boat? How do you do that? Well, what's the skill?
the systems, automation.
What do you use? Come on, how do you do it?
Oh,
how do you keep in touch? How do you find the people to run them? Do they work remotely, or are they all in offices? What's the sort of setup?
No, I have no staff.
You have no staff. You do it yourself. So you just have connections, and you work your connections.
I think the key thing is that I build everything that I build around the customer. So I've never created anything that someone doesn't want. And I think that's why it's always naturally grown. I'm just really curious. I'm a very inquisitive. My husband calls me nosy, but I think I'm inquisitive because I want to know everything. And I will, like, people will tell me everything. And I'll say, right, give me your problems, more problems, give me more problems. I'm collecting problems. That's all I do, is collect problems. And I think the natural creator in me just goes, brilliant. Like, you know, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Great, I'm going to solve this problem. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's something that we have inside of us, is that we're naturally, and those of you watching right now, you are a natural problem solver. You would not be here with Sally if you didn't solve problems, and you solve big problems. You know, the challenge is that sometimes we get what I call expert syndrome, and we start solving problems that don't exist. We think we're solving problems because that's what we think people need, and then we end up creating solutions that don't quite match, and then we're trying to fit things all the time, and then that's where you start doing the kind of one-off deals and things like that, and it can get really challenging when you're doing one-off stuff all the time. So I had to get really, really good at monotasking rather than multitasking. I had to get really good at systems, and I remember when I first heard about things like Infusionsoft, and I was like, oh God, no, if I use Infusionsoft, I'm going to lose complete touch with all of my customers. I don't want to go there. And then when we actually put Infusionsoft in place, I realized that my Infusionsoft is now doing the job of 1.5 people that I used to employ in my agency. I was talking about this morning. You know, if you think, I paid £18,000 a year to one of those staff, £21,000 to the other member of staff, and now I've got Infusionsoft at about £150 a month that manages everything that they were doing. And
right.
So, you know, I was like, what the heck, you know? So I got really good at systems, and I've built everything using systems. If I do anything, the first thing I'm thinking is, will I ever have to do this again? And so I just got really good at, okay, if I don't ever want to do this thing, I'm terrible with detail and paperwork and admin. That's not my thing. I need to be creating. So as soon as, if somebody ever asks me to do something, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then I'll think, will I ever have to do that again? If I will, that becomes a note, which then becomes a system. And I have a tech team that I pay my tech team. I've got an admin assistant who works for me, does all my tech stuff. How much is he? I think he's $400 a month, and he works for me 6 hours a day.
Where's he based?
He is based in India.
In India.
And he has an amazing work ethic.
This is something we've been talking about in the Agent Rainmaker crew, because there's quite a few of our members now are actually using Philippine staff, and
yes,
exactly what you've just said there, £400-500 a month,
yep.
And they are doing the work of, you know, an entire person here.
They've got such a brilliant work ethic. What I tell you, what I found is, I mean, you just have to get good as well. You have to, your mindset needs to change slightly, in that if you're like me, like, I want everything fast. I want it fast. I want it done yesterday. Well, when you're working with other cultures who are either a bit before or a bit behind you, you just got to get used to, okay, I'm going to set this, and then it'll be done when I wake up. So you can't see the immediate result, but
can you then not sleep because you're worried about it, or you're waiting for it, or you don't want it?
I let it go now. I didn't used to. I used to be such a control freak. I still am a control freak, but what's nice is that I think a control freak from a quality point of view, you know, and there's this part that when you start freelancing or outsourcing, I mean, we created an hour's worth of training, which was all on outsourcing, because the amount of mistakes I have made when we started outsourcing, the amount of money that I wasted. You know, I've been outsourcing now for nearly 11 years. So I learned a lot the hard way. And there's so many little things that you can do. Here's a little tip for you, if you'd like a little tip. Like, if you're wanting someone to write something for you, so say a brilliant thing for you building your personal brand is creating more of a prolific image by having a book, or writing blogs, or having, you know, a white paper, or you know, a mini book of around 10,000 words. You know, these kind of it's like a business card, but instead of a business card, you're actually giving a book or a magazine or something, and that really is brilliant personal positioning. But if you're not a natural writer, you don't want to be writing that stuff yourself. There are people out there that love that. Like my guy that I pay $400 a month to, that is like a top executive wage for him where he lives. So it's not like, you know, to us, we're like, oh my God, I couldn't pay someone £400 a month. Or what, like, you know, that's terrible. Like, they wouldn't be able to live. But he lives the most incredible life working for me full time from where he lives. And so there are people around the world that really, they're living a brilliant life because you exist and because you decided to outsource. So that's one way of really looking at this.
Do you think, I mean, it's a bit like an evolution of a business person here, because you went down the business building route, which most people in this group are. You know, we're building businesses and staff and teams, and outsource, not outsource, in-house, not in-house, work from home, not work, all those challenges that you were dealt with. I know you had a pretty big team when you walked out of that business, and you did that. You then walked away, which is very brave, by the way, Sam. Very brave to just walk out for a pound or 50p and just get. I mean, that just like I'm like panic.
You know, that felt like handing a baby over that I nurtured. Like I'd had the baby, and you know, I didn't realize how much I would grieve over it. That's one thing. I mean, you don't hear about that stuff. It's just like, oh, she did and she moved on. No, I really grieved that business. That was like a baby that I'd had myself, that I'd grown, I'd nurtured. It was a 7, nearly 8-year-old, walking, talking, living, breathing, eating, sleeping spirit, and it was doing the most amazing things. I just couldn't attach myself to it anymore. Like it was demanding too much of me.
Killing you basically, wasn't
it? Oh yeah, and very nearly did. You know, I literally had a heart attack. I was that close away, and it's
well, I'm glad you walked out.
Worth it.
We wouldn't have you now. But you walked away from that and you followed what would be most people's dreams. I know you were living in a cottage in France. You've still got a business in Calgary. You had a business in Calgary at the time. You were over there all the time. And I watched you literally. Where's Sammy today? She's jet setting here, jet off to America, off to Canada, back in France.
It looked like such a glamorous life. It was exhausting.
You know, it's just like this glory life that so many people just think, what a life, must be amazing. But
to be fair, it was a great life. It was just
but as you say, exhausting. And if you want to have a relationship and a family and all that sort of stuff, it's not easy to have, is it really? And so you've moved on from that again to the next third stage, evolution, which is actually you're bringing the business to you and saying, I'm going to manage it here by utilizing outsourcing, overseas workers, different teams and things like that. I mean, that is like, it's almost like an evolution, isn't it? It's a matrix in itself. It's like
it's a definite thought process. It's a totally different thought process.
Are you going to write a book about this, Sammy? You should.
I already have.
Oh, brilliant. Send it me.
Yeah, we're just about to publish. I've got over 350 books that we're launching this year and next year. Just, you know, because there is an evolution. I'll come back to the tip in a bit because we've moved away from it. But so for example, when you're building that personal brand and you decide that you're going to take it up a level, it is a totally different mindset. And as I've traveled the world, I've realized there's actually a universal language that is used with each level you go up. So it's like the difference between an employee mindset and a business owner mindset is very different, isn't it? You just know there's a different energy. But what I've noticed is there's a different energy between a business owner mindset and an entrepreneur mindset. And it's a universal love language that's used. And so here's what I detect now when I'm talking to somebody. So a business owner in that mindset, they'll say, how can I make more money? How can I get more clients? How can I sell more properties? How can I bring more agents on? How can I? Whereas a entrepreneur mindset says, how can you change your life as a result of something that I know? How can you change your life as a result of something I can do? How can you? And it's a very interesting mix because actually as business owners, we have to have both of those mindsets. You can't have 100% of one and not a bit of the other at least, because you're running a business, you're building a business. You've got to have that business owner mindset on at some point. The danger is wearing that hat 100% of the time, because then the business will consume you because you get too sucked into it. So at some point, and I would say I recommend having at least, it's like the 80-20 rule, at least bring in 20% entrepreneur, where at some point in your day, you're able to step into your customer's shoes and say, how can you change your life as a result of the business I'm building? And it's a different mindset. So you take off you kind of take the hat and the cloak off of being worried about money, being worried, you know, all of the concerns we have in a business. At some point, you've got to be able to take that off and be able to put on that dreaming of possibilities, that zone of adventure, that, okay, where's the fun really in this business? Like, because I don't do anything if it's not fun. I refuse to do that. I already had all those years of doing stuff, working hard when it wasn't fun. I'm just not going to do that anymore. So for me, it's got to be fun. And so, you know, and for you watching this now, it might be adventure, or it might be quality relationships, or it might be community. You've got to tap into whatever your highest personal core value is, and make sure that that's being fed and that's being nurtured. Like one of my highest core values is creativity. And so if I'm doing stuff like the system side of things, if I'm actually working on systems, that squashes my creativity. I hate it, but a system enables me to be more creative. So I get that it needs to happen. So I've got to be in business owner mindset when I'm creating systems. But then once that's done and I've handed it over to my team and they're now managing that, I can go, brilliant. Now, how can I start serving again? And that's where I'm writing my books, creating my blogs, filming my videos, going live on my daily show, creating my podcast. That's where I'm doing the one-to-one millions of times work. And that is where you can really make the difference. And there's a transition with that as well. Like I couldn't just start outsourcing straight away. I tried that, failed big time, because I was like, outsourcing? I don't need to do any of this myself. Boom. So I got like about 10 freelancers doing different things. I was like, yes, I've given it all out. And then of course this tsunami of questions then comes back. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute, made a rod for my own back there. And then nothing got done because I was working on too many things at the same time. So, and I remember putting out, I wanted somebody to write a guide for me, because I was like, I haven't got time to write a guide. I need to speak it and then have somebody go and then turn that into something. I'm much better at speaking than I am typing. And I've got a lot of clients who are dyslexic, or they have some kind of learning difficulty where actually being on camera is better for them than writing something. But they need to have things written. If you're building a personal brand and you're going to be an authority, then being an author helps you to become that authority. So I'm like, sugar, I've got to get really good at writing, but I'm not natural at this. So I started speaking my videos. I started creating videos, and then I thought, I need someone that can turn this into something for me. And so I put it out on what is now Upwork. Upwork is a brilliant community. There's people per hour as well. You can hire somebody through that. So I'm on Upwork, and I put this brief up to have somebody write this guide for me. And I got like 30 something responses came through, and I looked through every single one. And what I kept finding was people that I was saying yes to, they then weren't getting back to me, and it was a nightmare. They weren't doing the work properly, or they seemed like they were rushing through it. I was like, what's going on here? And what I realized was that there's a whole bunch of freelancers that just pitch for like hundreds of jobs all at the same time, because they're scared that if nothing comes off, then they're going to be without work. And that's a real fear, right? That's a genuine real fear. And I get it. I understand that. But the problem is, if they've said yes to or pitched for 20 jobs at the same time and 18 of them come off, they've now got a problem, and you're at the bottom of the pile. So and I realized they weren't reading the brief properly. So one of the little cheeky like things that I do now is when I put a brief out, right at the bottom of the brief, tucked in like the last sentence of the brief, I will put in capital letters, please respond to this post with pink elephant in capital letters in the title. And I'll only get like 3 or 4 people will actually do that. I now get like 40 or 50 people pitching for work, and you've now only got 3 or 4 responses to look through. So just little things like that. It's a system. I realized, this I'm going to have to outsource all the time. And if I'm going to work with somebody who's focused on attention to detail, who cares about, the little things, then I need to put something in there that builds in a process. And so that's how I stop wasting time. And there's little things you can do like that.
Yeah, so for our agents, I mean, some of the things that they've been chatting about in the group is about creating downloads for their funnels, creating guides for their landlords, creating documents to help their landlords through Corona, or with difficult tenants and things like that. So basically, if you just scan a list of the things you want them to cover, you could actually get someone on Upwork to create this document for you, even make it look pretty and do the design for you, and there you go, shebang, you've got it put together.
If I think of a problem,
pink elephant in the last sentence, I love
pink
that.
elephant, I know, it just is. I tell you what, it's transformed the amount of time that I have to go through, because I'm outsourcing all the time. I've got no team. So I'm outsourcing all the time. If recently I've started getting a load of infographics done, and I found someone on Fiverr. Literally, I pay something like it's about £8 something to have this person. And I've got this really good person now. I tried it with 2 or 3, and then I've got they're the one. And so they understand my branding. They've got a good style, and as a designer, that's my background. So I'm I'm really critical where it comes to design, and this person's doing a great job. And so I'm like, brilliant, I'm just going to hire you all the time now. And I think they've created about eight infographics for me over the last couple of weeks. I'm just basically the one that's really feeding them with work now, because I give them a little tip as well. They put me first as soon as I put a job there. And that tip is still ridiculous, you know, because I think she's in India as well. So, you know, I just have a thought. If I think, okay, so if I'm going to solve that problem, how many steps can I solve that problem in? And I look back, like we're in the Brand Builders Club, we're publishing our first Brand Builders Club book, which is the Law of Brand Attraction. So I've got 22 brand builders who are going to share how they are building their brand in their industry. And so we're putting a really good kind of scope of different ways that you can build your personal brand, your business brand, your corporate brand, your social media, your products. You know, we're doing a whole piece on that. And so I thought, as soon as we started to think about writing that book, I thought, okay, how many modules would I need to go through to train them on how they can give me exactly what I want? And I thought, all right, so we're going to need a headline. They're going to need a fame name, because, you know, they want, if they're going to be positioning themselves,
Guys, I hope you're taking
name,
notes of
they
this.
need one of those.
Take notes of these 5 things that are coming now. Number 1, what was the first one?
Yeah, so like a headline, so
Headline.
a really good headline, so something that people are really looking for. I've got a great little document. Sally, remind me to give it to you, because I came up with, I think it was about 130 catchy headlines and taglines and strapline, where you can just like fill in. So my Confessions of a Global Changemaker show came out of that activity. Right. So, you know, creating a good name, something that hooks people in. So you want that, a fame name, really important.
What do you mean by fame name? What's that then?
A fame name. Oh, now we're in my sandbox. I love fame names. As you know, I love a good fame name. So a fame name is something where if I'm having a conversation, so say one of your agents are out there and they're having a conversation with somebody else and they're expressing the problem that you solve. It's not their job to spend the next 10 minutes of their life talking about you. So they're persuading that person that they should talk to you. It's not their job to do that. So make it easy, make it memorable, make it repeatable, and make it shareable by making it small. Right? People go on and on about, here's what I do, and they kind of
letting agent
this whole thing. Yeah, or they say that, and it's like that. You're in the sea of sameness there. So
what's your fame name?
What kind of agent are you? I'm the brand builder. So there's a little system to creating a really good fame name. I'll walk you through it very quickly right now. So the first thing is the first word. It should be 3, no more than 4 words. It's got to be memorable. It's got to be repeatable, got to be shareable. So don't give someone more than 4 words to try and remember. You've got to rent a space in their head for these 3 to 4 words. 3 is the beauty. That's like genie in a lamp is 3, right? Don't go more than 4. So the first word should be the second word is what you really are special at. So it does, you know, even if like you've got a million people that say I'm an agent, well, what kind of agent? What is it that you really, really love doing? The one thing, if you were to pick a lane, what is it that you actually are really super well known for? Like, why do people keep coming back to you? Why do your people choose you? So, you know, and that could, you want that to be one word. My word is brand. I want to stick my flag on the moon. I want people, as soon as they hear the word brand, that I own that word. I just want to own that word. And, you know, you just start, like, you might not own it at first, but you can, as long as you own it in one person's head. Now you own that word. And then that becomes 2 people's heads, and more and more and more, right? So the second word of those 3 words should really be the thing that you want to be known for. The third word is the transformation that you want to make in the world. So, or that you want to leave them with, right? So for me, it's about building that brand. I support entrepreneurs and business owners to build their brand so that they have an abundance of people just magnetized to them. And people are coming up to you and saying, what do you do? Like you did. Oh my God, this girl on stage, like, who is this person? I want to know more about them, because your spirit, your energy, and the way other people talk about you, and that's a brand. Like, your branding is the hard stuff. There's a difference between brand and branding. I'm going to go through those at the summit, so I'm not going to go into those right now. But there is a massive difference between those two things. And what people do is they get so focused on the branding, the hard stuff, the logo, the business card, the website, they get so caught on that.
I think agents are really big into logos and things, but really that's not the important bit, is it?
No, you've got to build the brand, which is your reputation. That's the soft, squidgy, emotional stuff. It's trust. Trust is credibility. Credibility creates conversation, because then people want to talk to you. Conversation creates connection, because now people are talking to you. Connection creates conversion, and conversion, not from a sale point of view. I always think that you know, people talk about conversion, and there has to be a conversion into a sale. Of course there does at some point. That's the whole point. We're in business, right? But the challenge is that they forget about the most important conversion, and that's the conversion from a stranger to a friend. And that's what a really good brand can do, that relationship, the reputation. You can build a brand and a solid reputation. You can build trust with somebody before they've even met you, because of the way someone's talking about you. So, you know, building that brand, it creates that conversion. Of course, the conversion creates the cash flow. So then you've got a business rather than a busy mess. And that's where I really want to focus on, is how can you create a brand that's so powerful and magnetic that everybody's talking about you, everyone's raving about you, and you've got these ambassadors going out and talking so positively about your business that you are like oversubscribed 100% of the time. And you know, and you get to a point where actually the reason people can't get hold of me most of the time these days is because I am so focused now on creating content, and I'm terrible. I can't concentrate, have the phone on and be writing stuff or creating stuff. Like, we've created over 1,000 mini courses now. We've got all these books that are launching. You know, I've got a lot of content, a lot of over 70 products online. And so I have to concentrate when I'm doing that. So it's not because I'm so busy serving people. It's actually because I like to be really still. I like to be on my boat. I like to really be in entrepreneur mindset. I like to be in the you mindset when I'm creating stuff. And that takes me out of that frantic zone, and enables me to create from a place that my customer's actually in, which means I'm meeting the customer where they're at instead of trying to meet people where I'm at. And it takes me out of the expert doing syndrome that that I got very much caught up in. And I think that's why I built a business that I didn't want, was because I was focused too much on what everyone else wanted.
So your first business was building the business, and you focus on the business. The second one, you focused on serving the customer, which is the right thing that everyone tells you to do, but then you got lost in there somewhere. Now you're serving you by running a business that sort of manages itself and serving the customer, but doing it in a way that allows you to spend the time doing what you love doing, which is being creative. So
well, that's the most important thing when you're building a personal brand. And I think that's it. It's the building the personal brand. And that's the stage where you say, okay, if I'm going to be the absolute best living, breathing, walking, talking, sleeping, you know, eating person, that when people look at me, they want my life. When people look at my business, they want my business. Well, you've got to then build a business that inspires people. You've got to live a life that inspires people. You can't say to others, I'm going to support you to build this you know, you're going to be the best agent in the world, if you're not the walking, talking best demonstration of what a great agent's life looks like. You've got to be that inspiration, right? You can't be a weight loss consultant and be 20 stone overweight. You can't pretend, you know, you can't tell people you have to be a millionaire if you're not a freaking millionaire. You know, there's no integrity in that. You're Sally, you're doing it like, you know, I love the brand you're building, because you're doing it right, and you're a great demonstration of what it looks like to live, breathe, walk, talk, eat and sleep the business that you're in. But many people don't do that, and they get so busy being busy, they forget to have the life that actually people are buying your services from you so they can have that. And if you look like a busy fool, they're not going to buy from you, because they don't want that life. They're not buying that life from you. So you've got to get really focused on, and that's that level 4 is, all right, I'm going to live the freaking life of my dreams. What does that look like? And how do I need to build my business so that I can have that life, so that other people want that life? And then you're not driving, pushing and shoving, trying to get your business out there, because people are coming to you going, how the hell are you doing that? Like, what do you do that enables you to have that? And you just start then you start going, oh, actually, I've become quite addicted to the life that I've got. And I won't accept anything at any cost that removes me from it or takes me away. You know, this, everything we're going through right now, at first, everybody was like traumatized. How the heck are we going to do this? And your industry got hit so hard. You know, and thank goodness for you existing, Sally. You know,
it's the community, they've just been amazing in supporting each other. It's been phenomenal. So
right. And you know what this is like, I'm just a natural community builder, and I believe if you build a community or a movement around anything, then you'll build a great business, because it will thrive and other people will take that you know, it's almost like the Olympic flame. You're handing the Olympic flame to someone and they're going and spreading that flame to other people. And that's really what you want. When you've got a brand, then you have that, and you have brand ambassadors that can't wait to introduce you to other people. And business is never lonely when you've got a ton of brand ambassadors that care genuinely as much about the same things that you do. And so this time that we're in right now is brilliant for reevaluating that. And someone said to me about 2 weeks in, when the whole lockdown thing came, they said, Sammy, like, how's business? I went, oh, business is brilliant. And they're like, well, my business is really like struggling. Like, how is yours? I said, because I didn't think about me. I didn't go into my business owner mindset. I didn't have time for that. The only thing I could think about was, if my clients are successful, I will naturally be successful. So how can you do something brilliant with your business? How can you pivot? How can you build your personal brand at a time when people are shrinking and going, oh no, woe me, what do I do? You could be saying, brilliant time for opportunity. Here I am. You know, even like, I have watched people knock the greatest like thought leaders on the planet right now are being knocked off of their pedestals. They're being completely knocked off their perches because they've got so what's the word? Complacent. They've got so complacent with being at the top that actually, like, all of them, you want to interview a top celebrity, a top expert in business right now, now's the time. Now's the time. Because they're all going,
I am
doodles.
I am, Sammy.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing, right? People are, they're really thinking more community focused than they ever have right now. And even as an agent, there's an opportunity for you to think, how am I going to build that next level of my community?
I think this has been,
how am I going to create that?
I think this has been a great exercise for that for many of our members, actually, because one of the big things I've seen in the group is that they've been talking to their landlords, talking to their tenants, getting to know them. They've got more time to speak to them and nurture them. And I actually think this is like it's a springboard. It's a launch pad for exactly what you're talking about here, because I know some of the agent Rainmakers here will have already created communities, Facebook communities, run landlord seminars, got people together and stuff, but we're so busy, and our business is a business of minutiae, so it's just like it's like 4,000 actions a day. It's crazy. But actually, I think there's been a lot of skill sets learned here that could really take this off to the next level and become brand ambassadors for their own brand, their own thing in their own area, you know, supporting their customers, bringing them together. And we've got a landlord community, and it's lovely that to be able to support them all through COVID-19 and some of the questions they're asking, and what about this? And they're stupid little questions really, but they don't know, so you just help them through them and nurture them through it. And they love you.
That's the thing where you take for granted what you know. This is what I talk about when we say expert syndrome. You take for granted what you know. Like I ran a sprint last week in the Brand Builders Club on how to take what you know and turn it into products. And I worked directly with 7. I did like a little competition, and I had them all pitch for me to work with them personally. And in the end, I love the pitches so much, I actually took them all on. There's all 7 of them that were brave enough to pitch to me. I went, right, you've been brave enough to do it. I'm going to work with you personally this week. And it was so, I learned so much about those businesses, and actually through the process of working more directly with them than I usually would. Usually I'd give an instruction 1 to many hundreds. They'd all go off and do it. They'd come back and report how did they get on. This time, with me working hands-on with them, you know, because I'm creating products all the time, I took for granted actually how much goes into things that I just do, and I just roll it off. So all of last week, that literally every single problem that people were bringing to me, I was creating worksheets, downloads, extra training, other videos, walkthroughs, like cheat sheets, things that would help them to get it right. Because as far as I'm concerned, when you build something around someone, it is going to be the minutiae, and you're going to have a million things that you're going to have to think about when you do it. Like when we go and get fuel, we don't think about every tiny little thing that we do, even from finding your keys to opening the front door to putting your shoes on to putting a coat on, and you know, all those things. You probably take about 150 actions just to go and put fuel in the car, but we just see it as one action. I'm just going to go put fuel in the car. All right, see you later. But there's lots of little things that make that actually happen. And I think what happens as entrepreneurs is, and agents, is we get very caught up in all of that minutiae, and we don't necessarily spend enough time just looking at the bigger picture first, so that we can come back and work on the little things that really matter instead of all of the little things. And so, you know, I think systemizing is something that if you want to get good at releasing yourself from that, then you know,
I think that's one of the things that a lot of agents struggle with, actually. By the way, they've renamed you, by the way.
Oh, am I?
Looking at the chat here, you're now called Sammy Brandwell. Thank you, Andrew Rees, for that.
I have to rename my surname.
And then Kate we questioned him as Blindell. He went, no, I know, but that's what she does, branding. So she's Brandwell. So there you go.
Brandwell.
Yes, they're all having a chit chat about that. But
it's actually a really good idea. I love it. You win a prize. Whoever that is, they win a prize.
Andrew Reeves, you win a prize. So guys, if you have any questions for Sammy, please jump in. If you've got any branding questions or anything like that, Sammy is the lady. Honestly, I mean, we can only merely scratch the surface. You could talk to this lady honestly for days, and you'd still be wanting more. She never stops, and I think she actually sleeps less than me. I think you are the one.
Oh, you're kidding! I get about 10 hours a night. I had a 2 hour today. I'm all for the quiet, easy going. You know, I've done all that pushing and shoving. I think that the more I sleep, the more, you know, here's a thing, right? I created this as a little mantra. I went on a yoga retreat about 6 months ago, and I realized I'd started to get busy again. I was like, right, I've got to take myself out of this, get myself back into action. And I created this little mantra for myself, which was the more fun I have, the bigger my business grows. The less I do, the more customers I serve. And that enabled me to look at that and go, how do I make that happen? And when you get into how, you can get a bit overwhelmed as well. So I tend to turn those 3 letters from how, same 3 letters, to who. Who do I know that can help me to make that happen? And so I just asked the right people and said, how can I be living this life, right? This is the business I've got. What do I need to do to put that extra little bit of structure in place? And it was tiny things that needed to happen. I was making these big things up in my head, like, oh my God, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. And actually they weren't that big. I'd really made them much bigger than they really were. And so, you know, I think one of the things that I've had to do is create an ABC skills list, and that might help you to go and start getting used to what should you outsource first. So here's what I would do. Get a sheet of paper. Obviously you can kind of make it up now, but then do it over the course of the next 7 days. So get a sheet of paper, draw a couple of lines and put A at the top of one, B at the top of the other, and C at the top of the other. So your A skills, they are like, that's your A game. No one else in your business can do that thing. You are the only person who can do it. It's your superpower. Nobody else should be doing this thing, right? So being a brand ambassador and the personal brand behind the business, or the face of the business, no one else can do that. Only you can do that. That's one of those things, right? So you only put in that A column the things that you can do. No one else can do them. Your B skills are things that you can do. But, oh, by the way, your A skills also, they make you money. They're a great use of your time and you love doing them. And you do them consistently well. So your B skills, they're things that you can do, but they're not a good use of your time. They don't make you money. They're a distraction to you. Somebody else can do it better than you. Your C skills are just avoid, right? For me, that's accounting. Like, don't give me any accounting stuff. Like, I'm terrible with that. Just, I need to give that to somebody else. So anything to do with numbers or real like minutia detail, like, it'll take me hours to do that thing. when somebody else that loves it, lives it and breathes it will, like, they'll just inhale it and 20 seconds later it's done. So your C skills thing, so get really used to, like, your C skills always cost you money. They're usually admin things. They have to be done, but they definitely don't have to be done by you. And they're usually like £5, $5 tasks, right? And what I find is that most of the time, when you do this for a week, yeah, and you can colorize it as well if you want, like have a red pen and a blue pen and a black pen. And so, you know, make your tasks the black tasks. The blue tasks are the things that make you money that somebody else can do. And the red tasks are all admin. So anytime you do something that is an admin type task, stick it in the C box and just write it down. Now for a week, it's a real ball ache. You know, you have to, like, especially if you're creative like me, like I can't stand doing anything like that. But that's where the gold is, because you're going to get to the end of the week and you're going to think, only I can do this. And actually you start moving A things across to the B. Sometimes, if you're like me, you think that you've got to do it all. And after doing this exercise, you end up moving things from A to C. And you go, you know, how is it that I thought I had to do that? And actually I didn't. So the C tasks, they're the ones you want to get rid of first. Get somebody onto those first. You know, if you're on your own or you have a small team and you don't have the team that you need, you're going to find that out pretty quickly. And at a time like this, it's the best time to nurture those team members who are absolutely brilliant. But if you look at that team member and in your heart and in your soul, it ain't a hell yeah, then they can't be there. We had a great discussion about this last week, didn't we, Sally, when I interviewed you on my show, where it's like, they've got to have that values match. And if there's something that's going on in your business that's going to hold your business back, that means you're going to hold lives back. People are not being served in the way that they need to. People aren't living in homes and having a roof over their head in the way that they need to. And you know, if that's a passion in your heart and you're on a real mission to do something great with your business, then you need to be surrounded by great people too, because they are your brand.
They are. Some comments here. Great advice. Absolutely superb. Andrew Reeves said he would like to pitch to you and have a week's coaching as his prize, please. He's a cheeky devil.
Okay.
Prize. You got that answer?
Well, you win a prize. I don't know what it's going to be, but Sally can hook us up.
What are you going to be sharing with us at the summit? Now we've got the summit on the 14th, 15th and 16th of May. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
First time we've ever done a summit. We've got this full-on software. It's going to be like exhibition halls and weird stuff going on. It's just like craziness.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think the key thing that most people are really struggling with right now is how you build that personal brand. Like there's some, what I tend to find is everyone goes into, oh crikey, I've got to write a book, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, and then they start going into doing syndrome, and they're not doing it from that place of oneness. They haven't really picked their lane. So we're going to be talking about how you really pick that lane and you become not just an agent, that you become that powerful, magnetic key person of influence that just naturally exudes success, that naturally attracts people to you, and you're then going to build your brand on that. So we're going to talk about brand and branding, how you bring those things together, because you actually need to be building them both at the same time. And we're going to just go through, and I don't want to give too much away because Sally is, as we've already talked about this, of what we're going to be presenting, but I'm going to take you through. I'm a very visual person, so I like showing visuals. I'm going to give you some really good ideas, and you're going to be able to look at them, learn and do. So that's a key thing. You know, and you are going to be doing stuff. Sorry, you're not just going to be listening. We're going to get some shizazzle done during that, because like I like action, and money loves speed, success loves speed. Right? You want more money to go and do great things with, whether you want to keep it all to yourself and spend it on yourself, or whether you want to spend it on your own personal development, or whether you want to spend it on others. Then you've got a choice, right? Isn't it nice to be able to have the choice about what you do with it? So that's what we're going to be talking about, is how you really create that brand that attracts all of that.
What would you say for an agent the real value will be if they become the brand, and this ties in with their company brand and it all gels together? I mean, we are an industry of overworked, overstressed, underpaid, hassle to hell industry. You know, we're trying to change that, but that's where we are. I mean, if we can embrace this, be the brand, brand in the bit, what will that mean for us?
Well, it means you get to live your life on purpose. You get to live it by design rather than by chance. You get to create the life that you want to live in this world. You get to, like, wherever it is we go once we're finished here, when we hand our earth suit back and we go somewhere, we sit on clouds, whatever it is we do, you know, you get to look at what you've created. You get to see the impact that you've made in the world, that you weren't just an agent that sold stuff. You were somebody who actually created your own little movement. You created something of significance that gave someone somewhere to live. The end result was that you changed lives, you put smiles on faces, you enabled families to live the life that they deserve to live. And it all starts with these small actions that we take, and it's in really getting purposeful, intentional, and creational, and all of those three things in alignment. And not like doing it, you know, that's got to be done, fire, where's the fire? Oh shit, who's shouting the loudest, right?
It's so true that I think when you find a way to serve others, and when you can see that what you've done makes a difference, I think that's so rewarding. And I think a lot of us, why we got into lettings in the first place is because we wanted to find homes for people, and we wanted to, you know, there's nothing better than seeing a young family coming in and picking up the keys. They're all excited, it's their new home, and you know, that's why we got into this business. And somewhere along the lines it gets a little bit lost. And if we can go back to serving and helping others, the rewards speak for them beyond monetary. The rewards speak for themselves, don't they? And I think that's, and what
especially when that's happening on autopilot, when it's not you that's having to hand the keys over anymore, when you get to see, you know, hundreds, thousands of keys being handed over, and you've built this incredible business and life by design, that you have other agents looking at you saying, I want that life, how do I get it? And it all goes around, you know, really. Like one of my businesses now, it's called One Drop Movement, and it's about how you get to be that one drop ripple maker, but that you're creating ripples upon ripples upon ripples, right? I believe in collaboration instead of competition. I believe that actually through the power of us sharing our skills and our creativity, that we can actually achieve a lot more impact together. And individually we're the ocean, but you know, or individually we're one drop, but together we're the ocean, and the ocean is in every drop. So we're already that one drop. Is that how can we make a bigger drop, and how can we utilize the power of each other and your expertise and your expertise and your expertise? How can we bring those together to create an even greater global impact, like industry changing impact? And all of you watching this right now, because just naturally, because you're part of Sally's network and community, you're already doing it. But here's the thing, there's a lot of people struggling right now, and they're going to start looking at what you're doing. And if you don't accelerate how quickly you're making this change, then they're going to overtake you, and you can't afford that. You've got to go out there and you've got to believe that you're the best in the industry, not just act like you are. You've got to believe it as well. And when you believe it, you start to see the results. And actually that belief comes from having that, you hold your shape in your business. You like, here's the brand, and we live, breathe, eat, sleep, walk and talk that particular brand. And then other people start to do that too, naturally. But you can't do it by accident. It's got to be by design. And don't you want to live an inspired life? Don't you want to get to the end of your life and say, there's actually nothing that I would change?
Absolutely.
Right? You know, it's like I created this impact, and it was, you know, you don't even realize it, that just even one post, you're creating global impact. You're not just talking to people on your high street anymore. Every time you share something, it inspires someone globally, not just locally.
I remember a few years ago, I shared a post. I'd been out in my old house. We moved house a couple of years ago. In the old house, we had an old garden, old house, and I spent all day digging this garden. I love digging. I'm half Irish, so I just dug this entire garden. I was knackered, and I put this post up, just therapeutic. Spent the day in the garden. Blah blah blah. This is what I've done. Photograph of all this dug soil, you know, which to me is, you know, Mecca. And about a week later, this guy commented, and he said, one day last week, he said, I was at my wit's end. I was ready to give up. I was about to quit. He said, but then I saw this post from Sally, and it reminded me how beautiful it is outside and how many things there are that I can be doing. And I got out there. And he says, I've spent the last 7 days walking the hills of blah, blah, blah. I can't remember what it was. He said, and I just want to say thank you. I didn't even know who this bloke was.
You weren't even doing it to inspire people.
Nope.
That's the thing, right? It's,
you just don't know.
it's when it's natural. It's when it becomes something you just do. And it's just like breathing, right? And you get into that position of serving, but you're not even doing it because you want something from it. And that's the key thing. People can sense that. Like when you do something from a genuine place of service, your brand goes ding, 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 ding. When you do it just because you want something, it goes.
And
right?
that's exactly why we're doing this. Why we're doing this summit. I mean, about 5 weeks ago, Daniel from Promise Dreams phoned me and said, you know, all their sponsors and everybody just disappeared. And he said, can you help? And 5 weeks ago, I said, not at the moment, Daniel. We're all in crisis mode. You know, we were in, you know, the whole industry was just like, will we even survive this? You know, expecting 75% rent arrears, businesses to be closed. It was a horrendous time for all of us listening here, you know. But then 2 weeks ago, I thought, you know what, we've actually got through that now, and rent arrears are about 5%. It's nowhere near as bad as we thought. You know, things are continuing. We need to help them. And that's why we decided to put this summit on. Their money has gone from about 30,000 a month to zero. And they're a charity that supports terminally ill children, gets support and stuff, you know, in their last weeks. And at the moment, the world is very much focused on what's the word, corona, and you know how many people have died today and all that stuff, which is all terrible stuff, but nobody's focusing on these individual little stories of people. Imagine having that and having a terminally ill child. And so I thought, right, we've got to do something. We've got a bit of time on our hands. We can't run events at the moment. We can't train people in the way we'd normally do. So we just got time. So I says, right, let's put on this summit. Kate said to me, bloody stupid idea. By the way, Kate, put a link in the post if anybody hasn't already. But I said, what a crazy. I said, no, let's do it. Let's put on this online summit. Never done a summit before. Never done it. We're learning, you know. I've done physical events, Rainmaker Live, but never done a summit. So we're like, let's just do it. Let's do it. And all the profits will go to Promise Dreams. And here we are. And it's and Promise Dreams is a charity that here at Agent Rainmaker we've supported for 3 years. So we've raised in over that time nearly 100K for them so far. And you know, we want to see if we could just get them a month's worth of money, or we could just get 3 or 4 dreams through in the next few weeks, or whatever we can do. It's something, isn't it?
It totally is.
My mantra is this, you know, you put on your oxygen mask first, but then when your oxygen mask is on, turn around and help somebody else. And I think that's the key thing right now. We've helped ourselves, we've worked as a community, we've got our grants and our CBIL loans and everything else, but we need to help others now. And that's why we're doing this. And that's why I thought of you. I thought, Sammy, you're just going to be amazing at this, because you're just about changing the world. I just want to change a few people's lives, but you know,
well, you only need to focus on change. I think that's actually a really good point, Sally, is that you know, so many people they go into like the industry we're in, they go into it and think you know, I'm going to create something that's going to be one to many. Where's the worst thing you can do? You're going to create something that is one to one millions of times. And that's the experience that you want to give, one to one millions of times. If you try and create a one-to-many experience, people just see through that. They don't feel special,
and they don't understand it.
Special, right?
Last year at Agent Rainmaker Live, when we got Ethan on stage, and he's a kid he's had brain tumor since he was 5.
Oh gosh.
I treat, and it's now inoperable. And all he wanted in his life, his eyesight was disappearing. He could only just barely see, and he just wanted to go to New York whilst he could still see. And as Agent Rainmaker, we got together and we raised the funds to send him to New York. And it was so lovely to see him and his mom at Agent Rainmaker. His mom more so, actually, because his mom had the single mom. She'd had this for 15 years or whatever it was, 12 years. And it was her first night out, I think, ever. You know, she absolutely let herself go. She went wild. And we had Ethan dancing on the dance floor. We were holding his hands and stuff. And it was just so lovely to see the effect she could have on just that one family. And that was
one drop.
£2,000 or £3,000, as a donation. We raised £34,000 that night, and I know John Conroy, who's watching, and various other people did all sorts of stuff to raise money after that. So
because you can give your way to prosperity. I learned that when I was on a couple of documentaries a few years ago, these particular documentaries, and one of the women there, she lost everything, and I said, how did you get it back? And she said, I gave my way to prosperity. And I thought, what does that actually mean? And that's exactly what she did. She just thought, if I've got anything, I'm going to always put something back. As soon as I get something, I'm always going to put something back. And she literally, that's how she talks about prosperity now. She says, I gave my way to prosperity. Brilliant. And I thought, you know, it's not just our right to do that, it's our duty, actually.
I think as humans, we naturally serve other people, but in times of crisis we self-reflect and we panic and we look at ourselves. But when your oxygen mask is off, turn around and help somebody else. And I think now we're all in this place of peace. Now it's time to serve others. And you know, we're in a position now where it's nowhere near as bad as we thought. It's time to help. And if we could just help 4 or 5, and I know with you there, Sammy, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. You guys,
I'm very excited.
For a treat. This woman is amazing. What's the group that you run that they can join? What's the group you run?
How to build a brand.
How to build a brand.
How to build a brand. It's a free Facebook group, so you can come in and join me. I go live every day. We have our Confessions of a Global Changemaker show. I'd love to interview you. So I interviewed Sally last week. If you want to come be on the show, come play and tell other people about the journey you've been through. And really, Confessions is about people watching that and going, oh, thank God it's not just me. Like, I'm not the only person that's going through this. And she grills you through something right now, and I do grill you. I do, and it's complete free flow, so there's no rehearsing. I could ask you anything.
It's a great group. You are an amazing lady. You are achieving amazing things. You are all over the world. I never know where you are from one minute to the next, but
I'm on my boat now. I'm on my boat, going global from the boat.
Who knows? Oh, I can't wait. So you're going to be sharing us how to be this awesome brand and get the brands aligned and have the life that we want at the summit on the 14th, 15th and 16th of May. I so can't wait, Sam. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And on behalf of all the Agent Rainmakers, you are amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you. See you soon, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.